Welcome back, Burnout Teachers. Today's lesson will be about opportunism over international solidarity.
They've already arrived or are on their way, coming from all over the world to proudly represent their country in the 2021 Miss Universe contest, held for the first time in Israel.
This was a perfect moment where contestants could have shown solidarity with the Palestinian people and rejected having this event in a settler colonialist apartheid state.
Look at this and this view.
Contestants were given the opportunity before the pageant to explore the country, and yet there was no mention of the fact that this is an occupied land and that there are Palestinian people who have been suffering on this land under occupation and genocide for over 70 years.
We are here so excited to meet you because your beauty is meeting the beauty of Jerusalem.
And yet, although there was a silencing of this Palestinian history, they are using Palestinian culture and claiming it to be a part of Israeli culture. So they have all the women dressed in traditional Palestinian thobes. They are making wara'inab, grape leaves, and traditional Palestinian food, and claiming that this is a part of the Israeli experience, which is cultural appropriation. Taking the customs and the culture of the subjugated population and claiming them as your own, and for them to be seen as more desirable when they are claimed by the colonizer. There's a huge sense of entitlement. These international contestants are coming to a land that is indigenous to the Palestinian people, and then they're coming into these sites and just walking in very easily and having access to them and not acknowledging that that's a real part of their own privilege as international visitors.
Welcome to Jerusalem!
We're at the beautiful Tower of David, and I can't wait to show everyone what beautiful city is Jerusalem. I always wanted to meet Israel and Jerusalem.
Miss Brazil, she mentions how happy she is to be in Israel and that it's been a dream of hers to come here. But is she not acknowledging her own history in Brazil of her right-wing president, Bolsonaro, who's enacting heinous crimes and has been subjugating the favela communities and communities of color and indigenous communities across Brazil?
A violência cai assustadoramente, os caras vão morrer na rua igual barata, pô. E tem que ser assim.
Does Miss India not understand the shared history that Palestine and India have of British colonialism in their country?
It's my first trip after COVID and first time in Israel, and people are so kind, so warm, the food is so delicious, the places are so good. I can't wait to explore more places in Israel. Thank you so much for hosting us. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a very brutal system that stripped India of its resources, and in the Palestinian case, the British Mandate period being a historical period that laid the foundations for the current Zionist movement to rob the Palestinians of their land and engage in an ethnic cleansing project. And how these are very shared histories, and yet these individuals failed to take the opportunity to speak out because they prefer their own fame and power.
Andrea, the third Mexican Miss Universe, is here in Israel 1 month before the 70th annual competition takes place in Eliat.
I am happy that the contest of Miss Universe is happening here in Israel. I think there's a lot to learn.
The story of Mexico is very similar to that of Palestine, in which land was taken away from indigenous people in an occupation by the United States. And yet, Miss Mexico is at the face of promoting Israel. South Africa, who refused to boycott the Miss America 2021 pageant, despite the shared history of South Africa's apartheid system that is often compared to the Palestinian case.
As long as those who rule us are not inspired by justice, but dictated to by fear, greed and racialism. We shall not be satisfied until South Africa is one undivided country, a land where there shall be meaningful participation in a democratic process, in a government for all its people.
I do want to applaud the contestants who did choose to boycott, including Miss Malaysia and Miss Indonesia, among others. It was very brave. I think their statement of boycott has shown the importance of speaking up over your own opportunities as an individual and being able to show international solidarities with other communities who are being subjugated. I will provide a link for the BDS movement in the description box below, and it is an international movement that is aimed at boycott, divestment, sanction. Not just events, but also companies that do business with Israel or operate in settlements, and to really use the economic framework of not putting our money towards things that we don't believe in, and using that as a way to cripple the Israeli state and dismantle the Zionist ideology, so we can progress forward with a one democratic, secular Palestinian state where all people are free to live. Oftentimes people use events like these to legitimize the Israeli state, to encourage tourism to the country, and to really just distract away from the clear reality of genocide and occupation.